The pandemic has ruined business and has messed up the job situation.
Seriously, ma'am, just don't know what to do.
Something must work out.
CoLaBoRate, 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 CoLaBoRate. Let's learn the way we'll do it. Let's learn to collaborate. Let's be the change and make the change. Liberate people, companies, employment your way. Let's collaborate. Collaborate. Let's collaborate. Let's collaborate. Let's collaborate. I thought he's a leader, big, bright, and fast. Beta. They support in every daunting task. Delta. They pitch and scout and warning and hunting. Omega. They look out for the next in line. We're running my company and building up my brand. Fix all these hidden squares. Then focus on the task at hand. So now my jungle's open to the wolves among you. Opportunities to gain. Let's learn, grow, hunt, and play. I can work from dawn to dusk ceaselessly. Bow, but I do my work so professionally. Bow, I run work, but I want it my way. I'm a liberated associate on the techno highway. Let's learn the way wolves do it. Let's learn to collaborate. Let's be the change and make the change. Liberate people, companies, employment your way. Let's collaborate. 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 Let's collaborate.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 14th edition of the CoLaBoRate Talk Show. Uh, with me is two eminent personalities who I'll introduce shortly, and just to let you know what the CoLaBoRate Talk Show is about. So you have this economy called the gig economy, which is built to connect freelance workers to companies and companies to freelance workers. And both the freelance workers and companies can negotiate on the app. They can rate each other and build themselves up. The individual could build himself up as a brand. The company could control its fixed operating expenses. And this app has been in operation for about 2 to 3 months now, doing fairly well. We thought that we should educate people on what the gig economy is, what the gig culture is, how they could build themselves as brands, how they could take advantage of the gig economy. And we started this series of CoLaBoRate talk shows where we invite different people from different walks of life to share their own experiences with the gig economy, tell us how they approached it. And the gig economy, actually today, this is a very new term, gig economy. We used to call it freelance workers, which has been there for years. I mean, donkeys of years. So it just sort of gets getting formalized now. It's getting more prominence today. And today with me on the show is Vivek Shetty and Pervin Bhasin. And let me introduce them. So I'll start off with Vivek Shetty, he's been a motivational speaker and a life coach with a strong focus on yoga, life sciences, and mystic knowledge for over 15 years. He has over 500 sessions to his credit spread across corporate groups, management institutions, NGOs, medical and engineering colleges, international schools, and forums. Over 1,000 students, professionals, celebrities, including CEOs from USA, UK, Europe, and of course India, trained directly under him for mind management, public speaking, and voice training. He was conferred the Midday Award for Excellence in Motivational Speaking and the Nav Shakti Award for Excellence in Communication and Branding leading to social impact. Not surprisingly, he has over 130,000 followers on Instagram with numbers multiplying by the hour. He has contributed as a freelance writer to leading publications like Hindustan Times, Stavi, DNA, Midday, Dainik Jagran, Free Press Journal, Afternoon, and many more. Vivek heads Indus Communications, a 360-degree communication services offering state-of-art services in public relations, event management, and celebrity management to leading corporates, business houses, and celebrities. He has a profound interest in music and is the lead vocalist of a 6-member band that has performed at various festivals, including the CoLaBoRate Festival, Mood Indigo. He was conferred with the Pancham Award for Melodious Voice of the Year. His TV show, CEO Talk with Vivek Shetty, was one of the most popular TV shows for corporate India. His one-of-its-kind TV show on the human mind titled Man Ek Kalpa Vruksh, that translates to The Mind, a Wishing Tree, on DD Sayadri has been well received and appreciated. He strongly believes in yoga and religiously devotes himself to daily practice. The multifaceted Vivek Shetty dabbles in life coaching, management, motivational speaking, yoga, writing, and singing with equal ease and elan. Welcome, Vivek Shetty, and glad to have you on the show.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
introduce Pervin Bhasin. And so Pervin Bhasin started her journey with the Taj Group of Hotels, and after a stint of 11 years, started Purple Path Learning and Development Consultants along with her husband, Praveen. That's in 2000. Vibrantly alive as a facilitator of learning, Pervin Bhasin leads her programs by provoking thought, challenging norms, charting new paths, inspiring actions, or simply having a whale of a time. Her process engages learners and enables straddling of the profound and the playful with ease. The blend of curious, intelligent mind, obsessive pursuit of excellence, and ready laughter lends her work its uniquely distinctive character. Purple Path specializes in behavioral skills over multiple domains. They work with industries and audiences globally. Clients include KPMG, Asian Paints, Walt Disney, Mahindra's, HDFC Bank, and the Tata Group. As a leadership coach certified by Marshall Goldsmith and Erickson's College, Vancouver, coaching leaders to lead wisely and leave a meaningful impact in the lives of others is a source of immense fulfillment for her. Besides her 3 decades of admirable contribution to the corporate space, Pervin is equally conscious about overall upliftment of humankind, motivated as she is to leave the world a better place. Purple Path partners actively with NGOs and educational institutions focusing on youth empowerment. The future sees her expanding her footprint in this space and promoting sustainable living. Welcome, Persis. Pervin. I slipped up there again. Yeah. So, Pervin, we'll start with you, in fact. And working for the Taj Hotel, and that to Mumbai, is practically a dream job. I mean, I deal with so many students, and Oberoi's or Taj is like the Mecca, and that you were in Bombay Taj. Yet you chose to quit it and take a risk on this unbeaten path. What made you do that? And any regrets?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here, for inviting me here. It's an absolute delight to be with you and to be with so many people. I look forward to the conversations hereafter. So yes, I was with the Taj and I was absolutely loving everything that I was doing. I loved everything that I did. In 2000, when my son was barely a year old, I was heading training, learning and development as we call it now, training as we called it then, for the flagship hotel of the company, which was Taj Mahal Hotel, Mumbai. And because according to my son, because I am addicted to work, and also because I was loving it so much, I realized that while I was loving everything that I was doing, I realized I was giving really little time to Siddharth. And though he was being taken care of beautifully by my parents and in-laws, I didn't want to miss his childhood. So that was the personal reason. And along with it, I also had the sort of the yearning, it was beginning to come in, of wanting to be independent, of wanting to move beyond something that I loved very dearly. Yet I wanted freedom and I wanted to test my rings. I wanted to experience other industries and the world beyond the Taj. So put this together, and I think the choice was clear. At that time, I thought, well, once I step out, maybe after 3 or 4 years, I'll continue to be employable. My son will start going to school. I'll join either back into hotels or maybe some other organization. Well, thankfully, God was kind, clients were wonderful, family was supportive, and the work took off in such a huge way that in 2005, my husband, who also, by the way, was with the Taj, quit, and we teamed up together. We've been building Purple Path ever since. Any regrets? Absolutely not. Have loved every moment of it. I think what started out as primarily a personal decision, or rather a decision that was led by personal priorities, to put it more correctly, turned out to be professionally also the finest decision that I ever could have taken. So,
Wow.
I'm happy and deeply grateful.
Yeah, you look happy. And on that note, actually, Pervin, I'll come back to you. But on that note, I want to bring in Vivek, because you spoke about being happy. And Vivek, my thoughts, known you for years. And life, obviously, at some point would have got you down. It's just not possible that life won't knock anybody down. Yet, no matter when I speak to you, you are always upbeat, gung-ho, and able to laugh. What's your secret, Vivek?
Okay. First and foremost, namaste. Namaste is the Anjali Mudra in yoga. And when we bring our hands together in this fashion, it activates the nerve centers of your brain and raises your level of receptivity and joy to the people around you and to the message that is being shared at that point in time.
So, namaste, Vivek. Namaste, everybody.
I would like to first congratulate you, Dominic, and your entire team at HTI and the CoLaBoRate app for thinking of such a relevant and pertinent subject and helping us interact on this fantastic platform. So please keep up the good work. I would also like to acknowledge every single member in this webinar who are part of our audience. The speaker exists because the audience exists. If there is no audience, there is no speaker. So thank you one and all for spending this evening with us. Now coming straight to answer your question, Dominic. Well, I believe there is no situation in the universe or no event in the universe that creates stress. It is your interpretation and response to the event that creates stress. So I am always smiling because my interpretation and my response to events and circumstances are different. That keeps me smiling. More importantly, I tell people, when we were small, maybe less than 10 years old, we were smiling at everybody, even at strangers. But as we grew up, we start thinking, how much should we smile? If I meet Dominic, should I, just grin at him? Or should I, give a full-fledged 1,000-watt smile? And if I just give him a slight grin, what is the impression that Dominic is going to have of me? And if I give him my 1,000-watt smile, what is the impression that Dominic is going to get of me? But I tell people, give everybody your 1,000-watt smile, because when you smile, it is health for you. It is health for you. It raises the energy, frequency, and vibration of your mind-body system. Human beings essentially are electromagnetic beings. And in this age and era of the pandemic, when you raise your energy, frequency, and vibration, you also raise your immunity levels. And finally, it is between the virus and your immune system. So you better keep your immune system as strong as you can and raise its vibration. That is the secret why I'm always smiling, Dominic. Yeah, so I hope I've reasonably answered your question.
More than I expected. So basically you are talking about going to a higher level of vibration and then creating a sort of a energy within yourself, or rather bringing out that energy within yourself. And thus taking.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now, this topic that we have today on to come to it is about the gig life. and living and loving it. And as you know, there's this ikigai concept where we find out what we love to do, what we could be good at, what the world needs, and what the world is willing to pay for. Right. So it's joining the outside with the inside. That means what I would like to do, is it resonating with what the world does? So Pervin and Vivek, how do you all see yourselves? I mean, do you resonate totally? Have you found your ikigai with your life? At least I seem to think you have found your ikigai. But do you think you have found your ikigai? And how did you find it? So a question to both of you.
Who do you want going first, Dominic?
I think Vivek is suggesting you go first. Maybe the ladies first.
Always.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Dominic. So I have always pursued, I've always chased, always, what was close to my heart, what made my heart sing. Even for example, in college, when we needed to, and at a master's level, when we needed to choose our area of specialization, in those days, human resources was not seen as the best specialization for some strange, unfathomable, senseless reason. However, I still chose human resources because that was my passion. So I've always, whether it was joining the Taj or whether it was leaving the Taj, I've always pursued what I wanted. Now, so am I think I am in that zone. I definitely feel like I am at that, in that intersection where what you're good at and what the world needs and what you're passionate about and what you can earn a livelihood from. I think that all comes together in the work that I do. Having said that, I don't think it is stagnant. So it keeps evolving. Right now, for example, I'm feeling more propelled, more pulled towards doing more work in the future with young people than I have been doing until now. I've been doing quite a bit, but more in the domain of youth empowerment. That seems to be my calling for the future, as also like you shared when you introduced me, working more on sustainable living. We can see what's happening to the planet because we ill-treated her as much as we did, and what that is doing to us in turn.
So what you're saying is you're evolving within that zone.
Yes, absolutely, undoubtedly.
Okay. So it's not a stagnant position you have chosen, but you are within a position, you are evolving.
That's right.
Vivek, do you see yourself the same way?
Well, I would like to share a perspective of the age and era that we are currently operating in. I see this as an age and era of transformation, and it is this very transformation that will facilitate the boom of the gig economy. Now, what do I mean when I use the word transformation? I would like to bring absolute clarity to the use of this terminology. Most people mistake change for transformation. So what is the difference between change and transformation? Well, to give you a very simple example, old leaves of a tree wear out, new leaves come, that is change. Old fruits get rotten, there are new fruits, that is change. But when I change the soil, there is scope for a whole new life, which means where there is a mango tree, now there can be an apple tree. Where there is an apple tree, now there can be a banyan tree. It's a whole new life. So I look at this age and era as the age and era of transformation at multiple levels. Professional level, personal level, and most importantly, at the level of consciousness. And it's a great time to be alive on the planet because we can be active participants, dynamic participants in this transformation. Most importantly, the soil that I'm talking about is a direct metaphor for the gig economy, which is at a nascent stage, maybe in a country like India, but which will grow rapidly over a period of time. And this soil, like the gig economy, has no limitations. It is a billion possibilities opening itself up to you. The limitations, if any, are only in the human mind. In the external world, in reality, there are no limitations. So I would like to tell every single participant in this wonderful webinar that each one of you is a dynamic performer. and your best performance is yet to come. So go out there and make it happen. The universe is waiting for you to embrace you with open arms.
I love that. So Vivek and Pervin, have you all transformed, and how often have you transformed? Because you cannot transform on a daily basis, let's say, right? So when you moved, let's say, from Taj into the open arena with Purple Path, right? Or Vivek, when you, I mean, I don't know if you have transformed, because ever since I know you, you've always had this multifaceted role. So have you all transformed at any stage, and what was the transformation like?
Yes, Praveen, you first.
Thank you. I think I think the word transformation can actually be applied not directly to my professional zone, but more to what my experience of life after I became an Isha Yoga meditator. Yes, I think the way in which it changed the degree, not perspective, changed my experience of life.
Okay.
Yeah? And that's difficult to talk about, so I will just leave it at that because it can sound pretty esoteric. But yes, I think that was transformational. And that in turn, that change in the experience of the process of living, I am 100% certain would have changed the way in which I respond to different contexts, which includes professional, personal, everything. I don't find those demarcations of too much of worth in my life because it's just one life. But I'm sure that when you transform yourself as a person, not like I decided to make a transformation. It's just the practice of yoga. Yeah, it's just the practice of it is those practices that do something inside, a science of which I don't necessarily want to go into the depth of because I'm not a yoga scientist, I'm a yoga practitioner. But that practice has indeed transformed a lot of my life.
So did it deal with a lot of meditation or introspection?
So yoga is a way of being, right? Yoga is not just something that we do, but yoga is a way that we be. And it's not something that I've done. It's something that we are constantly working on.
Work in progress.
Yes, it includes practices. Of course, it does include practices, different kinds of practices. And it also includes a way of responding to life.
Which is what Vivek also mentioned, your response to the situation. Yeah. Vivek, what's your take on the transformation you've gone through, if you have gone through?
Yes, definitely. I would say that I have had a major transformation in life at one point in time, almost 15 years back, when I was in the thick of the corporate world, giving our services of advertising, public relations, event management, and celebrity management to a host of corporates. And we were thoroughly loving it. We brought great amount of energy and dynamism into everything we did. And I tried to keep my team highly motivated all the time. But having said that, I observed one thing in the corporate world, Dominic, and it is largely relevant even today. What is that one thing which I observed and which really set me off in a different direction? Well, I noticed one thing, right from the CEO to maybe the founder or maybe the chairman or some down to the office boy, almost 90% of the team were looking forward to the weekend. When would Saturday come? When would Sunday come? We would pull our socks up, maybe go for a movie, maybe go for a picnic and chill and do whatever we always wanted to do and run away from this place called our office. So I make this point in my modules. I tell my participants, suppose if you're working for 30 to 40 years on an average in your lifetime, say you start from the age of 20, 25, and you go up to 60, you're easily working 35, 40 years in your life. If Monday is miserable, 5 days a week are miserable, Monday to Friday. By the time you retire, maybe at 60, these days people don't even retire till 70 and they want to work on and on and on. No matter what your bank balance, no matter how many fancy cars and limousines you own, no matter how many bungalows you have, If you look back at 35, 40 years of your life, 5 days a week were miserable. 80% of your life was miserable. You were always looking forward to Saturday and Sunday. So the primary question that I then raise is, no matter what the content of your life, you may have been a plumber for all I care, or you may have been the CEO or the chairman. The context of your life was miserable no matter what the content. So I raise the question, do you want a joyful life or do you want a miserable life? So everybody says joyful, obviously. Right. Yeah. But then I tell them, if the answer is joyful, then Monday should be joyful. There is no other way out of it. Yeah. Sorry, Dominic?
Start the week on a joyful note.
Yes. So you'll be surprised to know in the corporate training modules that we do, Dominic, I've introduced a quotient called GHI. I've introduced a quotient called GHI, which is Gross Happiness Index. So we have GDP, but we've forgotten GHI. And you'd be surprised to know this. Some countries like Bhutan have this GHI, yes, have the GHI index for their nation. So it is very important to look at context of life first and then at content of life. And this was the turning point for me. I said I have paid too much attention to content and probably ignored context. And I changed the focus, brought a paradigm shift to the way I'm looking at life and I'm operating life. And I did a self-introspection and self-exploration process. Everything that I'm doing today, whether it's mind management modules or yoga or public speaking or voice training, I'm self-trained in every single domain. And that I believe is my greatest strength. In meditation, I tell people, no experience is the best experience. You're coming to me without a conditioned mind. That's far more easier to operate. So I tell people this in meditation, no experience is the best experience. Come, let's make the most of it. Because I don't have the layers of the conditioned mind to handle. I have a clean slate, I'll take it. So I hope this answers your question, Dominic.
Yeah, so what you're saying is the transformation came when you realized that you need to look forward to Mondays, and thus I presume you would need to enjoy your work if you need to enjoy your Mondays. Right?
100%. And you need to enjoy the company of everybody in your office. That is very important. You need to make it a joyful place. It is, it should be a peak potential process, not a survival process. Today, it is largely a survival process. For very few people, it is a peak potential process.
Okay, so Vivek, you always ran Indus Communications, right?
Right.
Were you exposed to the gig life? Because I'm coming to Pervin, where she has been exposed to what is called the gig life. So have you been exposed to the gig life?
I have done about 300 shows as a professional anchors, live stage shows.
Okay, so that's the gig life, yes. Yeah. So now I have a question for both of you, right? See, when you work in an organization, and this is a question that comes up quite often whenever we are talking about the gig life. You see, I compare the corporate world to two types of, like if you're a tiger, you have two options. Either you work in a zoo or you work in the circus. A zoo is where you get your bonus on time, you get your meals on time, you get your medical. The gig life, or rather the corporate life of the circus, is where you have these performance-linked incentives. And I compare the gig life to being a tiger in the jungle. Now, one aspect of the tiger in the jungle, at some point of time, he's going to go hungry. For sure, he's going to go hungry. So when you all were giggers, did at any time you had a patch of no work, and what was the toll on your pocket? What was the toll on your mind? How did you handle it? What advice would you give our people who are looking forward to living the gig life? And I'd like Vivek to start, and then we'll give it to Pervin. So
okay, all right. So in my life, Dominic, I'm never looking for certainty.
Never looking for certainty.
I am never looking for certainty. I'm looking for understanding and awareness. Everything else is an outcome of understanding and awareness, though we think it is an outcome of certainty. So I always tell people, don't look for certainty, look for understanding and awareness, look for wisdom. Everything else will happen in its natural course. In today's age and era, uncertainty is the only certain thing. And looking for certainty, Dominic, is like trying to fix a match before you play the match. So do you love match fixers? Nobody loves match fixers. So, but in real life, we want to fix everything. We are trying to fix the planet. We are trying to fix outer space. We are trying to fix everything possible to such an extent that if you do any more fixing, we'll be fixed for sure. That is the way the human mind is working at this stage. So
what you're saying is you're looking for uncertainty. You enjoy the uncertainty.
I'm not looking for uncertainty. I am taking uncertainty as a beautiful phenomenon of life. I see the harmony between opposites. Okay. Order is born out of chaos, Dominic. If there was no British rule, there would have been no Mahatma Gandhi. So look at the harmony between opposites. You are saying positive and negative are two opposites of electricity. I am saying no. Positive and negative, when they come together, energy moves forward, electricity moves forward.
Got it.
So, yes. So I see the harmony between opposites.
And Pervin, now coming to you. See, you were in a structured organization, like I said, a dream job at Taj. Stepping out into the gig world, you said you enjoyed every minute of it, but I'm sure there would have been days, like I said, when you went hungry, as in there was no work, right? You may have had your bank balance to support you, but how did it feel at that time? How did you tackle it?
Yes, I love that question because I think this is an extremely important aspect of being on one's own, being a self-employed professional or a gigger, whichever way you want to call it, is to have an appetite for ambiguity, have an appetite for uncertainty, to reconcile with the fact and to accept the fact, not like, oh, I'm going to tolerate it. There's no tolerating. It's just about accepting that, yeah, something that I'm getting that I really love is I'm getting variety, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And something that I also got to contend with is the fact that I don't get a steady income. So now there have been times more so in the earlier years when there may not have been any assignment for a few months.
For a few months?
Sometimes, yes, absolutely. At that point of time, what one needs to do, at least that's what I did. I'm not going to make this a prescription for others. But what I did was I invested in learning more and, basically adding value to myself, number one. Number two is that there are other aspects that also I love in life. And, one of the biggest gifts of being on my own is balance. Balance is a very important value in my life, by the way. And by balance, I mean that there are things that I love doing. There are things that I feel are my priority at a particular point of time. And all of it comes together in my ikigai. Ikigai is not necessarily only what I do in order to earn a living. All right. So for instance, when I was much younger, when I had just started this out, Siddharth, my son, who was just growing up, that was a very important aspect of my life. And so, if I didn't have too many assignments or I had very few assignments, or I had no assignment for a few weeks, my focus would be a lot on him and on doing new things with him, assignments with him or like picnics or whatever. Today, my focus largely is my parents. Of course, today the work has also evolved to that extent, but very mindful. And here, this is the other point, that connected with uncertainty is not just the fact that, yes, we need an appetite for uncertainty, but speaking for myself, I am very mindful. There are lots of times when I will decline an assignment politely because it might come in the way of certain other priorities, because balance is a very important factor. So yeah, were there times? Yes, there were times. How do you handle them? You handle them by being aware that it could happen, that it's part and parcel of the deal that one is signing up for. And therefore, one security that helps us to tide over it is financial security. So therefore, I think just building up enough finances and then investing them wisely and well, so that we don't have to go into, press the panic button and all of that. When the steady income does not come in does not come in to that extent every month, I think all of that definitely is a sensible way to deal with it. And yeah, I think we've done that.
So sorry, I got locked out in between, but I managed to catch up with everything. Jervis, you'll need to allow me to put on my video. Yeah, so you mentioned that, you know, a couple of months you would go without a job, right? And I mean, without a gig. And at that time, you would upgrade yourself. Now, very interestingly, during this lockdown, I have found that many people are, finding it difficult to sustain their mental balance, you know, thinking that, and I've spoken to them and I wonder, you know, I tell them that, okay, listen, there is no job. This is the best time to upgrade yourself. But they tend to get so frustrated that they're neither upgrading themselves. And at that time, if you ask me, they're downgrading themselves, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. So did you at any time come to such a juncture where you felt frustrated? Have I taken the right step? Should I be regretting this? I'm sure people would have told you, you know, Pervin, you are a fool to have left Taj. You should have stuck with that. So how do you counter that?
So Dominic, I think I think I have been very graced. And when I say I feel deeply grateful to life, I feel very deeply grateful to life, because I had in my own world, I had a lot of support. Yes, my parents, my in-laws, my husband were completely supportive. My son is very proud of the work that we do today. And all of that makes a very big difference. Now, something that I would like to say, this is, and again, I please pardon me if it sounds like a prescription. It's more like a loving invitation to, you know, prospective giggers who might be, who might have signed in, is one of the reasons why that lack of steady income often affects people. And I've seen that. I'm going to talk about that in a bit, of what I have noticed happening with others, is because oftentimes our self-worth is, we connect our self-worth with the money that we earn. Well, I think we'd like to relook at that. Yeah, is the money that I earn determining who I am as a person? Because money is important, no doubt about it. It's a means to an end. How important are we making money? Yes, we understand that it's important to buy things and to live a decent life and all of that. But are you putting money on that pedestal where your self-worth as an individual is decided by how much you earn and what you do with that money? Because I know that there are people like that, right? It's not just about giggers. It's about people whose self-worth is determined by, do I have a big car or do I have a small car? Do I have a, you know, a second house in Alibag, or do I only have one home in Bombay? And if I have a home in Bombay, is it in Borivali or is it in Nepean Road? I think these are the, and I think it's very important at this time in life. And life has humbled us. I like what Vivek said right now. This is a time for transformation, and we can facilitate that transformation by choosing to really take a good, cold, hard look at some of the aspects of our life which we made priorities, and ask ourselves, are those really priorities? So, so yes, is it important, and to sensibly plan finances and to save and to invest so that come a rainy day, you can bank on those? Yes, it's important from a sensible point of view. To allow it to become a mental health issue because it's affecting my self-worth, so be careful. I have seen, and because you asked this question, I'm going to say it because it could be, you know, something that would be useful to the people who have signed in. I have seen people. So whenever anybody wants to make the transition, you know, and become a freelancer or a trainer and comes to me, I'm always very happy to do whatever I can to help them. And oftentimes I see that after 5 months, 6 months, you know, if it doesn't just keep that upward line, you know, that upward graph, they go back to a regular corporate job. Nothing wrong. They quit being a freelancer.
Freelancing.
Yeah, they go back to a world of certainty. Again, I'm not here to make any judgments. All that I would say is that one needs to have an appetite for ambiguity and uncertainty. One needs to know that there'll be times when you'll get so much of work in a month that you don't know how to cope with it. And there may be some months where even, you know, one assignment that comes your way is something that you've got to contend with.
Right. So both of you have, thanks, Pervin. Yeah, you all have been great for, 1 second. Let me just tell the audience that we'll be opening it up to questions in another 3 to 5 minutes. So keep your questions lined up. You could put them in the chat box. Already we've got 2 questions in the chat box. You could either put it in the chat box or we'll allow you to unmute and ask directly, right? Now, coming back to both Vivek and Pervin, you all have both stressed on this, getting easy with uncertainty and ambiguity. And I'm sure you also know that this VUCA world, which we call, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, is what is the generation we are part of. And apparently, it's been part of our lives from the 80s. So on the other side, I constantly have. So I've got putting two questions to you all, or two challenges that I face. A lot of people are not comfortable with the VUCA world. That is uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. They would prefer the stability. They would prefer the predictability of life. And the reason is they say, okay, we've got family to look after, right? That's one thing. The second thing is that people are avoid using the word freelancer for themselves. And on this show, for the first time, I've got both my panelists who are proud to say that they are giggers and freelancers at some point or at this time. And by the way, I also started off as a freelancer or a gigger, right? Why do you think, A, that people are afraid of the VUCA world, and how could they overcome it? And two is, do you feel being a gigger is below your dignity or is lowering yourself in any way? We could start with Vivek and then move on to Pervin.
Okay, so I'll tell you a humorous story to answer your question, because I'm sure very much like you've expressed, Dominic, there are a lot of people who are not comfortable with uncertainty, not comfortable if the outer environment is volatile, constantly changing and unpredictable. So many people continuously in life are looking for stability and looking for certainty. So I'd like to share a small story with you, a humorous story. So this happened once, that there was a foreign tourist who visited India, and like all the other tourists, he wanted to see the Taj Mahal. And those were the days when there was no Wi-Fi, no internet, no GPS, no nothing. So good old days, he comes to Agra and he's aware that the Taj Mahal is somewhere in Agra. And once he reaches Agra, he inquires with a local passerby, a local guy, where is Taj Mahal? So that gentleman tells him it's probably about 10,930 miles from here. So this man starts laughing, the tourist. He tells him, I've come from a different country, so you're pulling a fast one on me. But I know for a fact that Taj Mahal is in Agra and I am in Agra. So there is no question of Taj Mahal being 10,980 miles from here. So he tells him, sir, I'm telling you the absolute truth. The direction in which you're heading, it is 10,980 miles from here. If you turn back, it is 2 kilometers. Okay? So the direction in which people are looking for stability, happiness, and all the other beautiful things that you described, even if they get it, I doubt they'll ever get it. It's 10,980 miles. But if they turn in a different direction, it's 2 kilometers. Now, what is that different direction? So, a bank manager who says, for example, draws 30,000 a month and is living in a 1-bedroom hall kitchen flat, tells himself, the moment I become a divisional manager and I get 50K per month and I graduate to a 2 BHK, I'm settled. In 3-4 years, he gets 50K, he becomes a divisional manager, he moves into a 2 BHK. Then he tells himself, now if I become an AGM in about 3 years and draw 75K to a lakh, and my son gets married, I'm settled. In 3-5 years, he moves to a 3 BHK, he becomes an AGM, he gets 1 lakh per month. Then he tells himself, son also gets married. Now he tells himself, all this is done. If I see the face of my grandchild, I'm settled. 3 years later, he sees the face of his grandchild also. Then he tells himself, the moment this child gets admission in a good school, I am settled. This way, you will never be settled.
So you're never getting your certainty or your confidence.
I tell people, this moment, right here, right now, right where you are, be settled. Be settled. The mind. It's settling down is a state of mind. It's an inner process. It's got nothing to do with the outside. So if you observe people today, Dominic, it's a restless generation. The sanitation worker is restless when he goes to bed in the night. The minister is restless when he goes to bed in the night. The CEO is restless when he goes to bed at night. There was an old ghazal, Dominic, which goes something like this. सीने में जलन, आंखों में तूफान सा क्यों है? सीने में जलन, why is there a constant heartburn? आंखों में तूफान सा क्यों है? Why is there a storm in every eye? इस शहर में हर शख्स परेशान सा क्यों है? In this city, why is everybody so restless? This is a restless generation. Because fundamentally the way we operate life and the way we look at life is wrong. We have to change the direction and our perspective of looking at life. Settling down, happiness is an inner process. If anybody has any doubts, I want to ask them, whenever they felt happy, where did the feeling come from? It has to come from
inside.
It has to come from inside. Now, when it is coming from inside, it is obvious you are the manufacturer of that happiness. The only problem is you cannot manufacture it when you want of your own choice. Whatever is on the outside, it is just a prop, a stimulant. The process is happening totally inside. So in meditation, we help you to get rid of the prop. You don't need the prop anymore. Within yourself, right now, whatever is happening or not happening on the outside, you will be joyful, you will be ecstatic, you will be exuberant.
Nice, very esoteric answer there, but so we'll move to Pervin for maybe, I mean, when I'm saying esoteric, Vivek, by the way, I resonate totally with this because even I'm into a way of living that
Right.
sort of, I mean, not sort of, which totally resonates with what you are talking about. And we have Pervin, who's also with Isha Yoga, and I'm sure she too will resonate with that. But Pervin, if you could give me your practical side of the way you, the actual way you went through it, you know, share maybe an experience of yours about, you know,
there were two parts to your question, Dominic. Can I
so
just
the first
request
part
you to
was,
repeat
yeah.
both
So the first part is people are embarrassed to be, you know,
freelancers.
the freelancers, and second is they are uncomfortable with the freelance aspect of the VUCA environment. You know, the
Okay.
volatility, the uncertainty that comes in.
Okay, all right. So if somebody says that he's embarrassed, I'd like to first, or they say that they're embarrassed, I'd like to first of all ask why. What is the connotation that goes along?
So I could answer that. So you
ego?
could ask it to me because I've faced these things and I've tried to explain. So one of the things that they say is that, you know, when you're in a permanent job, like how Vivek mentioned, you're a DGM, you're an AGM, you've got some designation. But
Right.
when you're a freelancer, what is your designation? I mean, you can be director, you can be king of England, you can call yourself what you want. It's not a
Right.
designation given by somebody else,
Right.
right? So did you feel
So-
the lack of a designation, for example, when you stepped out of Taj?
So,
Or like, you know,
no. Once again, that is another wonderful example, or that's once again a wonderful opportunity for all of us to just press the pause button and ask ourselves, what is our self-worth connected with? Am I connecting my self-worth with a label? And because the world has moved in that way, and if we have, like, you know, sheep followed the way of a large part of the world, then, well, we will probably compromise with our happiness and stay stuck in a job that has a fancy title but doesn't allow me the fulfillment, as opposed to going out and doing something fulfilling. Tell me, is a great surgeon not a freelancer? Is a lawyer not a freelancer? Is a great trainer not a freelancer? I think when someone is a freelancer or a gigger, as the modern term is, I really like it because it makes us feel so young. Younger.
you are.
Younger, yes. So I think what it tells me is that this person has a skill. This person has an ability. This person has a yearning for independence and has the courage to make it on his own and has the confidence that it will happen. So I, in fact, have a huge, I don't want to say more respect because it's not like more or less, but I just have huge respect for people who are self-employed. So why do others feel that way? Well, maybe that's a question that they need to ask themselves of what am I attaching self-worth to?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head where they're attaching their self-worth to the organization, the designation, and probably the monthly salary. Yeah, because
monthly salary is a sensible, I understand that. You know, I understand it. In today's world, I mean, everything is getting expensive by the day and so on and so forth. And you need to buy things, you need to live a certain kind of life. Unfortunately, what's also happened, Dominic, and I see this in a lot of my friends, so therefore I'm going to say that, is that there are a lot of people, and I'm talking of people who are otherwise also very well placed in life, but are living beyond their means. You know, we've entered an age where because everything is available on EMI, therefore we buy this and we buy that and we buy that, and we end up living beyond our means. Now, in order to fulfill all those EMIs, then you need a steady state. So therefore, well, I think for me, fortunately,
Spot on. Spot on.
So fortunately, I am, and so is my husband. It's very important to have a life partner who connects with you on your values. Is we live a life that is exceedingly simple. You know, a little while ago we were talking even about air conditioning. You know, so we live a life that is simple to the point of almost being seen as frugal, and we're very happy with it. So therefore, the hankering for much or for having a massive steady income isn't there. Are we getting a very decent steady income? Yes, we are. More than we really need? Yes. Comfortable? Yes. So I think it all depends eventually. And I think this is the time in life. This is the time in life. And I want to go back to what Vivek said, is this is the time for transformation. But before transformation, it is the time for self-reflection and to ask ourselves, to really question some of the priorities, some of the aspects that we have accorded priority to, and to ask ourselves, are those really sustaining priorities? Are those things that really give us joy? Joy comes from, for example, now let's talk of me as a trainer. Joy comes from understanding 10 different industries. Hospitality is a great industry, but today I understand so many industries. Joy comes from dealing with so many geographies, so many kinds of audiences, and learning something all the time. I'm happy that my joy, I have not enslaved myself to the relatively primitive gratification of a label or a designation. And frankly, I love my label, Principal Consultant Purple Path. Oh, I think that's a great, sexy label too.
Most importantly, Dominic, with your permission, I'll add one line to this, which I think is very relevant. See, nothing fabulous can happen outside until something fabulous is happening inside. Your best work comes out only when you're joyful inside. You want to build a Taj Mahal outside, but deep within you, you're a complete wreck. How can it happen? So I don't want to name, there was a presidential candidate in a major advanced Western country. I don't want to name the candidate. That candidate, in all his pre-election speeches, used to howl, scream, yell, and go hammer and tongs at everybody left, right, and center. And he's telling, I will bring peace to the planet. So I sent him a query on Twitter. I said, whenever I look at your 6 feet 6 feet by 2 feet frame, and I listen to you when you're speaking, you're howling, screaming, you're using the worst kind of expletives. There is no peace, there is no happiness in that 6 feet by 2 feet system. And if you tell me you're going to bring peace to the planet, why should I believe you? Why should I believe you?
True, very true.
So this is what people have to realize. When you choose to be joyful, it's a very intelligent decision.
Okay, so now I'm going to,
Go ahead.
Just
1 minute.
Go ahead.
I mean, I really feel very graced, but I think we have great equations with our clients. We have earned a lot of respect. We have a lot of people who maybe when they, for example, decide to quit a job or are thinking or are not satisfied, some of the first people that they'll come and talk to is us. They were our clients at one time, and they continue to be our clients, of course, but also over time, that credibility has been established. So really, if somebody is questioning in their mind about is freelancer a respect-worthy thing to be, then I would say, ask what is the fundamental on what foundation is that question even occurring to you?
Very true. So now we've got some comments, and I'll try to separate the comments from the questions. Someone likes Pervin ma'am's line on self-worth. It really resonates with me. Someone says, Pervin and Vivek speak really well. You must bring them back into more such talk shows. Thank you. There's one, the more you live and understand the life world, I suppose the life world balance, the more you will get pain. Is this true? So what the person says is the more you live and understand life and the life world balance, the more you will get pain. Is this true?
Should
I have a
answer
very
that,
short
Dominic?
answer on, yeah,
Vivek,
but a
please
very
go ahead.
short answer on that, Vivek, because
Yes.
we are running out of time.
I would agree that if you're rich inside, you will attract abundance on the outside also. So the more you understand, when he uses the terminology understand life, when you understand life, you choose to be joyous in all situations. You arrive at what we call is a state of equanimity. You strike the balance. And once you strike the balance, you look at everything with understanding and wisdom. A natural consequence of that is your inner magnet becomes strong and you attract abundance. I would completely agree with that gentleman's statement, though of course I would rephrase it in a slightly different way, but the gist of what he means is 100% true. Which is why I said in the very beginning, Dominic, don't seek certainty, seek understanding and awareness. Everything else will happen on its own.
Okay, there's one more little question out on the same lines, similar lines. Do you at times feel bad, hurt, depressed while doing what you love? I'll let Pervin take that.
Do you feel bad, depressed, and what else?
Bad, hurt, depressed while doing what
These
you
are
love.
natural. I mean, this is part of living life. You know, I live in a family which I love. Does my husband, who I love very dearly, make me sad, depressed, mad, angry, wanting to kill him? All of that. Yes, of course. That's part of life. That's part of life. I mean,
That's part of life.
Yeah.
I love that. And this is the time you smiled the most when you said you feel like killing your husband. So I'm okay.
And imagine, Dominic, we even work together. Imagine, can you imagine?
I can't imagine that.
Chemistry?
Yeah. I can't imagine that because I mean, it's mind blowing, the pressure on
So
the
I
poor
think-
guy.
Oh, come on. I think things that are a part of life, we got to accept them as a part of life. Those are part of the flavors of life. There will be times when we feel down in the dumps. There will be times when we feel like throwing it all, throwing in the, what do you call it? Throwing in the towel. There will be times when we feel elated and ecstatic. Oh, that's all part of the game of life.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. Very short answer. Have you felt like throwing in the towel? How often have you felt like throwing in the towel? And what made you come back? What made you stick with it?
Have I felt like throwing in the towel? Frankly, no, I haven't ever felt like throwing in the towel. But I'll tell you, when I felt envious of people who, or I've thought of what would be had I continued to stay within the structure of corporate. The honest answer is because I would have then been able to have much bigger budgets to enroll in programs for my own development.
How sweet. How sweet. I just love that answer. So what you're saying is if you had to stay in corporate, you would get more budget to invest in your own learning.
Yeah, conferences. And sometimes I think, I'd love to go to Harvard for this program. Or then I look at the price tag and it's like really huge.
Yeah, because some of my friends also do get that. Lovely. Okay, now there's a very nice question, especially considering the times. It's come from Nicola. Does it make sense to branch out and build one's own brand, in these COVID times?
Yeah. So for the benefit of this lady or gentleman who asked this question, the gig economy is scheduled to grow to about $250 billion over the next 10 years, as per a study done by the Boston Consulting Group and another firm along with them. I'm talking of the Indian market. There are 90 million jobs on offer, gig jobs and gig opportunities on offer over the next 10 years. And according to me, it will grow even bigger than these statistics that I've just shared, for the simple reason, with the proliferation of artificial intelligence, many full-time jobs are going to be lost and they're going to either convert into gig jobs or machine jobs. So it absolutely makes sense to establish your brand at this point in time. Don't kill your ideas. Go out there and make it happen I'm sure each one of you has the potential to make it happen. And there's a huge economy out there waiting for you. This is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of statistics that I've shared with you. And even in these statistics, the farm sector or the agriculture sector has not been taken into account at all, which plays a major role in the Indian economy.
Superb, and I love it being backed by statistics. Now, we've got two questions that I will take before we shut down. So one is for Vivek. How did you start Indus Communications?
Well, I never had a 9-to-5 mindset since my college days. I used to do some odd jobs for about 6 to 8 months a year, just take a break 3 months before my exams to earn some pocket money, because I wanted to woo some beautiful girls on the campus, and I was always short of money.
Not short of looks.
And all the beautiful girls I knew had expensive tastes. So I was always running out of money in Mitibai College, which, where the entire Bollywood industry and their children used to study. Having said that, on a lighter note, the moment I got out of college, I analyzed my own nature. I didn't have a 9-to-5 mindset at all. So I said, and we used to organize fashion shows while we were in college and intercollegiate competitions, Dominic. And those days, we used to do about 5-6 events a year. I was also the general secretary of the Students' Union of Mitibai College. I was very active in student politics. We used to earn a few lakhs per year just by doing events. We used to raise sponsorship and do that. So eventually, when I passed out college, there was no job that would pay me a few lakhs just sort of graduating out of college. I said, what am I going to do with a job? I'm earning more than any job could possibly offer me while I'm doing college. So even with a post-graduation degree, which one may eventually complete, I still did not see the arithmetic adding up to anything that I was making while I was in college. So I decided to venture out into business. I said the economics does not add up for me at all. I'm doing my own events. I'm doing stuff on my own and earning in a few lakhs per year. And no job can ever give me that for the next 5 years, the way I look at it.
So straight out of college, you started Indus Communications.
Absolutely. I think for about 6 months or a year till I could get my act together of putting my entire unit and module together, I might have done a job. In 1 year flat out of college, I branched out into business and I never, ever looked back. And I'm still, grateful for all those experiences, for all those learning experiences that I got as an entrepreneur. As I said in my audio, which I shared with you, Dominic, for the benefit of all the participants, entrepreneurship is probably one of the greatest and the most effective learning processes on the planet.
Okay. I agree with you because I've been an entrepreneur now nearly 3 decades.
And a highly successful one.
Debatable, but from my perspective, I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's
so now
it.
coming to Pushpa's note, she says, absolutely love Pervin. Really enjoyed Vivek's perspective too. I think this is more aimed at Pervin. Is it more difficult for older people to become gig workers? Even freelance trainers who are not so young anymore, the going is very tough. Any suggestions for them? I can give a little perspective on Pushpa because she's a friend of mine. So we came out of catering college 1990, and you can do the math. And if you could recommend something for her, Pervin. So she says that freelance trainers who are not so young anymore, the going is very tough. Any suggestions for them?
Any suggestions? Well, see, I think in life, first of all, we got to accept what we cannot change and what we cannot change.
Can I give you a little slant to this? How do you get your business? I mean, what is the networking that you have done to get business? What are the people you have approached? How have you got your business?
All right. So that, for that really, Dominic, I'm a terrible person to give anyone advice because I don't know how we've got business. I think we're terrible at marketing. We don't market. We don't do any marketing. Life's really been very kind to us. And a lot of the work that keeps coming to us is honestly without marketing. I don't like the sound of it. It makes me sound too pompous. I don't intend to be pompous, but I really don't market and I don't know how to do marketing.
So how does the business come to you? Because that would probably be the need.
See, remember, I have been in this now for decades, right? So when I started out, there were already, number one, there were a lot of people who already knew my worth because they had been with the Taj and then they had moved out to different organizations. Many of the first clients that came to me were that way. And then afterwards, it just spreads through word of mouth. You've been in the training business also for a long time. You know that a lot more happens through word of mouth than if you actually go ahead and, cold call or approach anybody. So that it happens through word of mouth, and it's a relatively limited community, right? Human resources and training, people know each other. We all know each other. So am I part of HRD network or this network or that network? No, I'm poor at that. I mean, I need to learn how to do that. I have been fortunate. However, having said that, I would sincerely suggest, number one is that one starts getting networked by being on these forums, like an HRD network, or there must be some trainers forums. Must be some trainers forums. No, obviously not. So be on these forums because it starts getting you connected. When you start getting connected, then people start, people also start connecting, and you need to be in people's mind space. So that's one thing. But the other very important thing is that one aspect that we will not be able to change in the immediate future, at least, or rather, let me put it this way, we need to make our peace with, is that unfortunately, really unfortunately, corporate India has got a big age prejudice. All right. And I say this completely aware that I'm being watched by a lot of people. There may be a lot of young people on this. And yes, there is definitely an age prejudice. But now, if that's there, you're not going to be able to go back in time. I cannot go back in time and become 25. I want to, but I can't. So I'm 18. I'm 18. 27. All right. So you can't make that. You can't change that. You can't change their mindset immediately. What we can do is make ourselves relevant and demonstrate that relevance. So will it happen quickly? It may not happen quickly. You may need to work a little harder. So what? If something is important, then we work harder at it and we be more persistent with it. There's no straightforward answer here. I know that I'm not giving any straightforward answer.
I've filtered out what you've said. One is use your network, your word of mouth. By the way, Pushpa also was with Taj at one point.
Yes. Hi, Pushpa.
Have you unmuted her, Jervis, by any chance? Or anyway. So, she was with Taj for some time, if I'm not mistaken, Bengal. And,
we were flatmates. We stayed in the same flat together.
Oh, you okay? And here I'm introducing you all. Anyway.
Hi, Pushpa.
Yeah.
And Dominic, to boost the morale of this person who asked this question, the gentleman who set up Kentucky Fried Chicken set it up at the age of 65.
Right.
So since you asked, is age a deterrent? I would say age is not a deterrent at all for anything. So don't worry about your age. Go out there and make things happen. The universe is again waiting for you with open arms.
You were adding something, Pervin?
It's a little different in the United States, in Canada, and in India. In Canada, you will find so many people at Subway, for example, who are well into their 50s. Over here, you'll find 20, 25-year-olds. They won't even look at your CV if you are over 50, and even if you desperately need a job. So
okay,
yes,
I'm going to push the questions a bit more, and just a few minutes. If anyone would like to unmute and ask a question, you can just raise your hand, and Jervis will unmute you. I'm going to take just one or two more questions. This is for all three of you all. What are the things you all wish you all knew when you all started your company? So I won't answer that, but I'm going to give it to you all. Just two things you wish you knew when you started your companies. Anything that you'd wish you knew, which you didn't know. One or two things.
Yes, so who should? Pervin, you'll go first?
No, go ahead, Vivek. Just give me one or two points.
An answer I need to think.
Okay, so two things for sure, which I wanted to know very early on, but eventually I picked it up, is mind management and energy management. This is not part of our societal system. This is not part of our education system. So anything and everything you do in life, two things come into play, whether it's your professional life, personal life, or anything at all. Your mind comes into play, your energy comes into play. And if you don't know mind management and you don't know energy management, but you know all the gadgets outside, that is a big tragedy in a certain sense, because It is like, you know the cart, but you don't know the horse. And it is the horse which has to pull the cart. So you're busy decorating the cart with all sorts of decorations, but you've completely forgotten the horse. It is the horse which has to pull the cart. And Dominic, for the benefit of your highly enlightened and discerning audience, I would like to share with them, every human being is a powerhouse of energy. There are, approximately trillions of cells, 70 to 80 trillions of cells in your body. And at the rate of 1.7 volts per cell, you have enough energy within you to light up entire Mumbai city if the power fails for 1 week.
I love your statistics.
This is the actual scientific statistics that I'm sharing with you, Dominic. Somebody may say 70 trillion cells or 80 trillion cells. At the rate of 1.7 volts per cell, you have enough energy within you to light up entire Mumbai city if there is a power failure for 1 week. Now the question is, do you know energy management?
Okay, so Vivek, sorry, but I'll have to cut you off here. So basically,
Yes.
what you're saying, what you need to know is mind and energy management. You wish you knew that when you started business.
Yes.
Pervin?
Well, I'm really struggling to think of what I would have wanted to know.
Okay, so can I give you another question then?
Okay.
So this was something that came up when I was when you started off you went out to start your gig life, right? You must have had some picture in mind, right? And when you actually started it, what was the difference in the picture you had seen and what you are now?
All right. Okay. That's an interesting question. And that I can immediately answer is I thought that I would be having an easier life. All right. Like I said, when I was with the car, I loved the work that I did. I was awake until 2 o'clock working. I thought that, now I'm going to have a slightly easier life. And I was really kidding myself because I work just as hard. I sleep just as little. But, I figured that is who I am. And I also realized that that's not going to change. So, yes, I mean, that's definitely. Also, I feel that when you are, and I truly love what I do. So it's not that physically exhausting, although there are times when I need to just forcefully tell myself that now stop, because otherwise you're going to harm yourself. But yes, some people might be under the impression that when you start out on your own, there is less work. No, there is not less work. It's just as much work. It's a lot more work. But the thing is that you are more in control of it. And you choose your priorities, you choose your strategic priorities and so on. So therefore you enjoy it so much more.
Great. So it's been very nice chatting with you, Pervin and Vivek. And I really wish we had more time. In fact, I pushed the time limit by 10 minutes. And I'd like to thank you both, Vivek and Pervin. If there is one last message both of you would like to give our audience in a very brief, 60 seconds, 120 seconds. Go ahead. Just one parting shot. Imagine you are advising yourself as a youngster going into the gig life. What would that advice be?
May I take this one first, Vivek?
Please. Always you.
So my advice to anybody would be that gig is the best way to experiment, and experiment in the spirit of playfulness. The spirit of playfulness is give it your all because you want to win. But the spirit of playfulness also is that if you don't win, it's okay. You don't become a failure because something that you tried failed. So it's a great time. Today's world is a great time to experiment with things that you may not have done earlier.
Thank you so much, Pervin. That was really lovely. Vivek, over to you.
My single most important message to everybody in this fascinating, riveting webinar is please focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want. All the negatives of our age and era, if you keep thinking about that, by default, you're attracting that. So the single most important mistake that people are making in the age and era of the pandemic is they are always 24/7 thinking of the worst possible outcomes. Oh, I'll be jobless. Oh, my business will fail. Oh, my family will be in trouble. Oh, this may happen. Oh, that may happen. when you're thinking that 24/7, you are attracting that, because it's like watering a plant of problems. Whatever you focus on, whatever you give energy to, that will grow. So when you're thinking of that constantly, you're giving energy to that, and that will manifest in your life. So focus on what you want. What you focus on is what you attract. Think only about the good things and tell yourself adversities offer the greatest of opportunities. So this is my biggest opportunity. That's it.
Thank you so much, Vivek and Pervin. And on this note, I'd like to bring our 14th CoLaBoRate Talk Show to an end. Great meeting all of you guys, and stay with us next week. We'll come back with another show, and we'll keep doing this. And we also plan to have, some of the speakers who've been with us before to come back again. Do join us. Jervis will send you the link to if you'd like to come onto the app. Anytime you have a question or in any doubts you have, you could always post it on to Jervis, whose email ID you'll probably have, and he'll direct it to any of our previous panelists, or to me, or whoever it is you'd like to address the question to. So these shows, by the way, I have a very selfish reason for running it also, because I get to meet people, and I get to learn from them, and the way they share. And this time the panelists literally resonate with this whole world that I've been working on, which is the mind power. And both of them, resonated so beautifully with it. So I'd like to thank them personally, and God bless you all. Keep rocking.
Namaste. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to every single member in the
Namaste.
webinar. Thank
Namaste.
You. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, and all the best. Dominic, thank you so much. Vivek, lovely meeting you. And all
Same
of
here,
you
we'll be in
out
touch.
there,
Yeah,
take
we'll
care.
be in touch. Thank you. Namaste.